Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast explores the transition to net zero and the systems driving real change in how we move, live and power our world. Every week I sit down with the people leading that change, those offering insight, innovation and impact in many ways people don't fully see until they hear their stories. If you're ready for real conversations that inspire action and drive change, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey. And let's cut through the noise and build a better future together. Hi everybody and welcome back to this week's episode of Electric Evolution. This week I actually have Trevor Palmer and he is the founder and inventor. I've not had many inventors so I love this, of EV blocks. Trevor, thank you ever so much for joining me. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you about this.
Thanks for having us on, Lynn. Liz, rather, not Lynn. Lynn works in our office.
That's fine. You can call me whatever. I was going to say, we were introduced by Angela Murison, who I have interviewed on this podcast previously, and she's doing a bit of work with you guys at the moment, anyway, isn't she? So we can talk a little bit about that in a while. But let's start off and just go. We were just talking very briefly before we started recording about you've got an EV and you've been a bit of a petrol head and things like that. But besides that, let's build a picture of you. Where did you start your career, and what got you to the point where you looked at building a business and developing a business like EV blocks and actually inventing the block itself? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of kind of small business owners or entrepreneurs, there's always like a hustle when they're at kind of school age, and I was doing pirate CDs, and there was always a deal or something going on even when I was a kid. And then I spent time working with my dad, doing concrete bases for like big grain shed floors or basically big agricultural buildings where we're putting the concrete base or the floor in, ready for the rest of the build to take place. And whilst I was working with my dad, I was applying for jobs with electrical contractors. So I wrote off around 20 letters to all the local electrical contractors. Managed to land a couple of interviews and get an apprenticeship with Alfred McAlpines for 4 years and studied at Lincoln College. And that was a great time because I hated school. I just could not wait to get out. I was just like, show me the money. I want to go out. I want to get to work and I want to earn some money and get to it. So being able to get an apprenticeship and then I was really engaged at college because like, I want to be here rather than school. You're kind of just forced there.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then qualified at 20 years old, worked for around 6 months as electrician on a kind of a maintenance contract, and then left the UK to go travelling for a few years. So I went to New Zealand, Australia, Thailand, Canada, the States, Austria. And there was a mix of things in there between chasing cattle through the desert on a dirt bike to snowboarding and just doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things in between. And that was a great time. And then came back to London and started work as electrician.
Different to,
and then was about
chasing cattle.
very, very different. Yeah, and extremely different working conditions for sure. And then so was working in London as an electrician for a company, and then I decided to set up on my own. Just basically bought a second-hand van, put my toolbox in the back, and started working. And I've built that business up over a number of years, and had other electricians working for the company. We was installing electric car chargers, and that's where kind of EV blocks was first thought of. We were doing turnkey, tarmac, rip up, reinstatement, foundations for the pedestals to go onto, and all the electrical infrastructure behind it, all under one roof. So it was a pretty big effort each project, and we were doing sort of 3 projects a week or 3 car showrooms a week with a very small team. And that's where EV blocks allowed us to move quickly because it was the same consistent base. Put it in the ground. Electricians knew what they were going to come to, so that was good. And we kind of gave birth to that brand in spring 2020, and then COVID hit 2 weeks later.
Oh
My electrical
God.
contracting company,
Yeah.
basically went to the wall because we were aligned with shopping centres, office spaces, and car showrooms, and they were the three places you could not go.
Mm-hmm.
And we just could not, move our offering fast enough to another sector because those contractors already serving that sector were already securing that kind of work. So we closed that down, and it was all chips on EV blocks, and yeah, off we went, and what 6 years later, here we are.
That's amazing. And do you know what? You brought back a memory from my childhood when you were talking about working with your dad putting concrete bases down. I remember, I don't know whether I don't know how old you are, and I'm getting on a bit. My dad, years ago when I was only very young, bought this new garage, or garage if you want to call it posh. It wasn't a garage, it was a garage. And he kind of he did the base, he backfilled, he kind of built the base of the garage, and because he wanted to have he called it a pit. It was his little place where he could go and tinker around with underneath of the car. And so he built the pit, and then I remember him actually putting the concrete base down, and him and my brother, or brothers at the time, were kind of they actually went along with this. I'll never forget it. And I don't think I particularly got involved in that side of stuff, but they went along kind of flattening all the
Yeah,
concrete down.
tamping it down with a
This,
big
yeah.
piece of wood. Yeah,
I
and that
hadn't
wood gets heavier and heavier all the way you move through that slab.
Do you know, I hadn't thought about that. God, you just brought it back to my mind then. So yeah, I'm saying I work with my dad. I think I carried some of the blocks, that he was building. He was building the base of the garage with. But yeah, flipping heck, that's if you did that quite a long time. Was that was that experience with your dad then? And that kind of building those bases and stuff like that, like you've gone into your electricals and you've electrical contracting, but you've made something this EV blocks. Did that actually go right back to thinking about what you were doing with your dad?
I just had a good understanding of concrete, having
Mm,
laid plenty of bases with my dad, and you know working out what needs to happen when the cement truck arrives, and the gap between the cement trucks, when they're delayed, and what to do, and how long it would take for us to be able to get onto the floor with a power flow, or how long it would be until the customer could walk across that base and strip
mm,
shuttering off and things like that. So when we were asked to do the car showrooms, we kind of already understood the process of putting a concrete base in. It's going to need a few days to cure before we can start removing shuttering, and also what's involved, because concrete, it's really kind of dense
mm,
material.
mm.
So that shuttering that you build needs to be fairly robust to make a decent foundation each time on site. So we got good at that, or the civils team we had were good at doing pouring bases, but we wanted something even faster again. And then with pouring the bases on site, you've got to remove that shuttering, and it's not always reusable, so that you ended up with a bit of waste every other pour.
Mm.
So yeah, it was an interesting process. But yeah, that first bit we're working with Dad kind of gave me a good understanding of what different trades did.
And you've got, yeah, like you say, I suppose you've kind of, the involvement is kind of, and it's like going all the way through, isn't it? Kind of on like an end to end, because you're seeing it from, you're doing all the electrical bits, you've got your guys coming in doing all the concrete or backfilling or whatever you've got to do, and then right through to those people, like you say, who are walking on, actually walking on it. So it's how different then is it from those days to what you're doing now? Because you've got quite for EV blocks, and you've just had it patented, haven't you, in the US? what is the difference between what you're providing? Because if we think of it from a decarbonisation point of view, there's something different about your product that's got a real USP, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a couple of items really. So, compared with pouring a concrete slab, that is completely kind of all of that area um, is concrete. Whereas what we've done with EV blocks is kind of hollowed out the center of the block. So you've got a reduced amount of concrete going onto site in the first place. It's made in a manufacturing facility, so you've got this nice consistent finish. And when we first started kind of building blocks, they were made to suit whichever pedestal we were fitting, which is fine, but not very future-proof. So with the EV block, there's a adapter plate on the top, so that then that can be drilled to suit whichever fixing arrangement for whichever post is being fitted. And then if the customer wants to take the EV chargers off that site and kind of just do reinstatement works on dilapidations to just have our adapter plate on top, no charger, they can. Or they can have a new adapter plate from us and fit new charging equipment on top, and they get a nice, neat finish still. Compared with your poured concrete pad, which after a couple of changes is looking like a bit of Swiss cheese because all the fixing arrangements are in different places, so there's lots of holes and bolts in the wrong spot. And the same for a precast pad that was made for one charger, installed on the day. 5 years later, they come to install a different charger. Again, that is going to look like a bit of Swiss cheese by the third charger that gets mounted on top of it. So then you're ripping that up and starting again. So the whole deal is that EV blocks are future-proof, and I always had kind of the disability part in my mind where we wanted to have a non-slip surface on the top of the EV blocks. So when we first did, version one of EV blocks, they were made with aluminium plates. Aluminium when wet, really slippery.
Yeah.
So we use a coating that they use in the supermarkets to add some traction back in there.
Like a non-slip type thing.
Like a non-slip, self-adhesive, laminated at kind of, I think it was about 45 degrees. Every single plate went through this laminate machine, which is great, but it wasn't quite as scalable as what we wanted. And now we've moved on to a composite adapter plate with, I think it's ADA slip rating pattern. So we kind of got there in the end.
What does
it's basically a standard for slip resistance.
Right, get you. Okay.
Yeah.
So typically, what if we're looking at? There's so many different chargers out there. Typically, what does an EV block? What does it hold on the top of? What kind of chargers are we looking at? Are we kind of looking at bollards? Are we looking at DC? Are we looking? Is it mostly AC? What style are we looking at here?
So we started off with the universal product, which was to suit AC chargers.
Yeah.
So anything from sort of 3 kilowatts right the way through to 22 kilowatts. And I don't know whether there's any 3 kilowatt chargers kicking about anymore, but most of them start at 7 now. But any kind of level 2 EV charger would fit on an EV block. And then off the back of that, we work with a company called EV Tower based in Wales. They asked us to make a foundation for their pedestal because they've got a very similar kind of ethos. So they make a universal pedestal when we make universal foundations. It's like, I like kind of what these guys are doing. And Nick, the director there, who's kind of pestering me, he's kind of like, rang me once, would you do a foundation for us? Yeah. Rang me twice. Like, yeah, it's fine. Third time, I was like, this guy is serious. So let's get it together. And we did that for him. And it has been a fantastic partnership over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. Worked very closely with EV Tower on the EV Block Mini. And then more recently, we've been getting involved with the charge point operators for their DC, rapid charging hubs. So we've made a foundation to suit their requirements. Again, universal, so fits the majority of DC chargers that are on the market, and we're seeing a lot of Alpatronics being fitted to our foundations,
Hmm.
as well as power electronics or Chem power units as well. So I think we've got around 40 different DC chargers that fit on our DC foundation offering.
Wow. So you've just said about the charge point operators. Are you typically now working with them, or are you kind of working with the installers? How at what point, I suppose, do people get you involved and kind of go, right, okay, this is what we want, and it's going to be an EV block that we're going to use as the base or the foundation.
So we're coming in at a few different levels now. We're seeing EV blocks specified on drawings by architects and specifiers and technical designers, which is really nice because that's something we've been working on for a number of years. So for it to actually come in black and white when you see it on a set of drawings is brilliant. Then we work with the smaller installers who are installing, say, one or two pedestals a month on an EV Block Mini, or maybe for a small business unit. And then the larger contractors on big rollouts for AC charging. And the same again on the contractors that are working with those CPOs. We're working directly with those contractors in some instances, and then in the others, we're working directly with the CPO, and then they're free issuing the products to their contractors. So they're remaining in control of what's happening on their site, and asking the installers to put these particular items in.
Okay. So, I mean, this, like you said, you've been going for what, about kind of nearly 6 years now, haven't you?
Yeah.
At what point did you realise, God, I'm onto a winner here? Like you said, you went through the whole thing with lockdown and the electrical contractors and, your other businesses, and it takes time. It takes time to build a business anyway, doesn't it? But what was that? When was that turning point? When did you kind of go, flipping it? Look at this. Look at us.
I think that only really came last year. So we're kind of like 4 or 5 years in. We're going, oh, okay, this is now working. Sales are coming through the door consistently. We're getting better quality conversations, and we've built a great team here, which is really important. Business is only as good as the team that's there. Product can be great, but if you don't market it right, or you don't have the right people working in that business, it will not work. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I'd say the last 18 months, it's really kind of turned a corner where it's actually working.
And that makes it feel very, very different then, doesn't it? And I'm gonna just say congratulations, because you won the Global Entrepreneur of the Year award, and that must have been mind blowing for you.
Yeah, it's like it's a nice bit of recognition. I mean, that event is sponsored by Alaka Bank. They're one of the fastest growing banks in Europe, I think. And it was a great evening. And like I say, just to be recognised as you're doing something valuable within UK small businesses that are often overlooked. It's pretty smart.
So what was it, do you reckon? That do you kind of do you see the judges' notes or anything like that? I don't know whether you get to see
Totally, yeah.
them.
You don't get to see anything that they've written down.
I was
I mean,
just
it
I
was
was,
quite a decent application, sort of 6 pages of talking about your business and how it started and where it's been, where it's going.
but I mean, the judges saw something in you and the business, and your explanation of what you were trying to do. That must have been brilliant for you and all of the team.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and especially it's great to be recognised for what we're doing. We've got manufacturing in America, Canada, Australia, France now of EV blocks, which And that was it, going back to what I was talking about when I was at school. I was, always kind of wheeling and dealing and looking to do something different. And this was the contracting business was good, and I've been an electrician for a long time, but I always kind of been very creative and wanted to build a business that could be truly scaled. And the fact that we've been able to scale this across the globe is that's the interesting bit. That's the exciting bit, if you like.
So when did you start expanding then? When, because it's not easy to set up other businesses in different countries, is it? What was kind of, was it when were you starting to get inquiries from other countries, on a regular basis, and then thought, blimey, we need to actually do something about manufacturing here?
Yes, we got kind of really leaned into the marketing side and got a better understanding of what cuts through. Um, and something obviously cut through that we were doing back, no, 2021, I think. And we got a couple of two or three people direct messaging me across LinkedIn saying, "We like your idea. Can we have a chat?" And then off the back of that, we entered into a partnership with a company called Recon Wall Systems in the US, and they have helped us to license the product across the globe.
Blimey, that's amazing. So hang on, so how many countries did you say?
So we're in the US, Canada, Australia, and France, and we're looking at two more dots uh, on the world map by the end of next year.
My God. But but if we kind of look at the, like I say, that kind of scaling, what have you learnt, if you don't mind me asking, what have you learnt so far from kind of that level of, I'm going from here in the UK to all these ideas, and starting to build a team to, right, okay, my God, we're going to have representation in all of these countries. What were the main challenges that you came across? Or are there too many to mention? Or
Well, they're still present. I mean, in the US, there's like 20 different concrete manufacturers that create or make EV blocks under license. So there's 20 stakeholders that need looking after straight away just in the US, a couple in Canada, the guys in Oz and France, and that is a lot of touch points internally. And
yeah,
then you need to be able to market that message and get it out to the respective contractors in those countries so that they know EV blocks exists, and the marketing around that is very very different to here, because over the last 6 years I've been at a lot of trade shows, been on stage on panels, met a lot of people in person, so people have got that kind of personal connection with either myself or Jordan or the ladies who are in the office when they speak to them on the phone. That's really hard to replicate in a different country when you're not on the ground as the person. So we're still working on that and how we can um, engage the audience a bit better across the globe. But just to have those businesses take on the product and work with us is just incredible.
it's a bit of plate spinning that's going on. I can imagine, kind of it's. Are you? Because I find work, having running my own business, you do end up working weekends because you've not got a choice in the matter, because trying to fit everything in. Are you still doing that, or are you finding it's a little bit easier now your team's got bigger?
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot easier, less demanding of me uh, since we've put the right systems and process in place and got the right people in the business. Um, that said, there's a couple of kind of burning projects that I like to work on in the evenings, or when I can get a spare hour, um, that will come to fruition at the right time. But the day-to-day running is no longer being in the office till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I mean, I remember laminating those aluminium plates till God knows what time at night to
Mm.
then pack and wrap them and all the rest of it. Every single one. And you look back and you go, there's 1,000 of those that where every single one I touched. And you
Wow.
think this was quite, it was tough. It got go to a point where it was just, this is not sustainable. We can't do
Mm.
it anymore.
Mm.
And that's where we moved technology there. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, it is a lot easier. Just the thinking and the doing are very different to what it was before.
Mm. I mean, just think about that though. What you kind of said about you touched every single one, and yes, it meant that you were in working till God knows what time. But the legacy, that you're leaving behind, that will end up leaving behind, and the fact that you can say you've been involved in it all the time must kind of give you a bit of a nice warm feeling inside to see what it's turning into now.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you know, there's been some great people in my life who have made it in terms of business, and they've been very complimentary on what we've achieved. And I'm still 100% owner shareholder of EV Blocks. We've not sold out to PE or any external investment, and we've built this from the ground up,
Wow,
um, which
just
is
going.
it's kind of unheard of in our industry, really.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Flipping it. It's normally getting investment at fairly early age, early stage, isn't it? So that's
Yeah,
brilliant. And if you kind of look at the simplicity, and you talked about the different blocks themselves, the simplicity of the blocks, so that they can all that you are helping to future proof. How easy was it for you to kind of be able to do that, to keep those, keep what you're doing quite simple with, so people knew what they were getting, but you could change, and like you said about moving to DC and staying at AC to start off with. How easy has it been to keep it simple?
it's had its challenges, but my kind of ethos is: can we streamline it? Can we make it easier? And all of the initial work was, how can we make the installer's life easier? Because
Mm,
I was the installer standing in the rain trying to do concrete and all the rest of it, and it's just like, this sucks. So how, if we can make this easier for an installer and make it easy for ourselves, then we've got to the point where if it's easy for us, then it's going to be easy for others. Built EV Blocks to what it is now, and kind of keeping that ethos of keep it easy for the installer. And in terms of scaling, then it's been very repeatable because we've worked out what works. Right, now we can multiply that.
mm, mm.
Um, that's been good, and also the engagement from CPOs when we're developing the DC products. That really helps kind of steer what they are, what they require, what they do want, what they don't want, um, and getting something that's fit for purpose for going out into the field. And I think we're pretty much there with that. It's been good.
So I was going to ask you about the patent, but what I want to ask you first, I suppose it's kind of a real burning question of mine. When you've got an installer or a CPO that is organising, or however they work it, you must be saving a hell of a lot of time, because if you're putting a putting a block in, rather than, like I said, going excuse me, going back to what I said about my dad's garage, and you doing the stuff with your dad and all that lot, that is time consuming, isn't it? So on average, only top of your head, How much time are this, because you did this originally, didn't you? How much time is this, are the blocks saving somebody's install?
We are looking around 30% time saved,
Blimey.
but it's kind of it's more impactful with the bigger the site because
Yeah,
then
yeah, get you.
less shuttering to be made.
Mhm.
The guys can drop in 10 foundations in the morning rather than just building the shuttering up in the morning. So, and we're having kind of a couple of time studies done of the difference, but it's not only what's happening on site, is the saving for the contractor. They've not got staff in hotels overnight. They've not got return visits to site a week later to take the shuttering off and mount the charger because all that can be done the same day with that product.
Mm.
So then you've got reduced hotels, reduced diesel backwards and forwards to site because let's face it, the guys and girls are still in diesel vans at the
Mm.
moment. So that kind of goes into that story of working towards net zero and reducing the amount of trips to site, reducing your project time. So it has a big knock-on effect when the contractors really kind of get into the product.
Because I was
Um,
going to go on.
we've seen that a few times where contractors have been on the fence and they're like, well, we'll try it on this small site. Once they try it once, that's it. They just keep coming
Mm.
back because
Mm.
it's like they can see it on site and see the guys working with the product, and then the light bulb goes off and they go, "Ah, this is a no-brainer. Why didn't we do this before?" And you're like, "We did try and tell you guys, but
But it's winning them over, isn't it? It's like you say, it's a bit like driving an EV, really, isn't it? You have to drive one to actually work out that they're actually pretty decent. For what you're talking about, you've got to actually try them out and get the teams to do the work. And for somebody to, everybody be stood there and going, blimey, we've just, like you said, you've saved 30% time. But again, it's not just the time to, kind of to put the fixings in and all the, kind of all the backfilling or whatever, and the concreting and the waiting in the hotels, like you said. So I suppose, all in all, it's not just 30%, is it? There's so much more because
there's so much
you'll
more
probably
to be
have multiple
considered."
people. Yeah, so all you need to do is, I mean, this is from my improvement background is totally kicking in now, from like you said, savings. In fact, my dad, going back to my dad again, bless him, when he was working, he used to do what they called time and motion studies, which were the precursor to what I do, which is kind of
Yep.
bizarre because I didn't even know for many years what my dad did because it was just my dad, and then it was when I realized like he was doing time and motion, which was just stop watching, start it, stop it, see what the time is, how long's it taking somebody, are there better ways of doing things, and it sounds like you have found those better ways and
Yeah.
saving that time. God, I bet your case studies are going to be amazing for this.
Yeah, I mean, some of the images that get shared from contractors back to us and the feedback back from the contractors we get is it's fantastic. It is it's really difficult to kind of put all of that information together. The hotel room saved, the diesel trips backwards and forwards saved, the time physically doing the job on site saved. It's really hard to kind of quantify that, but we do know that, it's definitely faster than building shuttering, pouring wet concrete, and waiting for a week.
Definitely. What you need is somebody who can do really good process mapping. I'm just pointing at myself here.
Oh, it hit you up, Liz.
I will definitely do some process mapping for you there. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out, people. I'm geeking out. I bet another person who's geeking out, well, I reckon Angela Murison is probably having a wonderful time while she's kind of doing some of the social media marketing for you guys because, like you said, all of the things that you're getting back and sharing, I bet it's, I bet she's rubbing her hands together going, oh, look at all of this coming in because it must be, it's a marketer's dream, really, isn't it?
Yeah, to be able to get content back from the outside world on a regular basis is is dead helpful. We want to kind of lift those contractors up that are working with us as well,
Mm.
because we appreciate the business that they're doing with us. Can we help them with an introduction into somewhere else? Or, kind of what goes around comes around, right?
You're not wrong. Absolutely. And yeah, because there are a lot of people in this sector that don't always get kind of recognition. So the fact that you can share that will make it. Do you know what? I was talking to somebody else on another podcast about this. It's about showing you care, isn't it? Showing that what they're doing, it proves what you're doing is a good thing, but it also proves what they're doing is a good thing too, which is just, yeah, it makes a massive difference. Um, so if we kind of look at the sort of the net zero angle on this, you've talked about it, haven't you? You said that there are people still driving around in diesel vans because probably in some cases it's a cost thing. It's also potentially, depends on the distance that they've got to drive from wherever they're coming to. Um, where where do you think we're going with the trying to get the installers, etc., to move over to EVs? Are they if you're seeing these guys and girls, should I say, are you seeing them recognize that EVs are a good thing from a personal point of view, really, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen more installers pick up a electric vehicle for their own personal use, and certainly when they go out to site and they're already driving an electric vehicle and they're selling electric vehicle charge points, kind of goes hand in hand when they're pitching their business to, somebody who wants these EV charger points installed at a site. Um, Second-hand car market for electric cars still seems pretty strong.
Mm.
Um, and even talking to the neighbours a couple of nights ago, they're like, "Yeah, I think we'll go electric next." No one's got a gun to the head saying you must go electric. Everyone's kind of clocking on, going, "Well, this is not bad," and especially noticeable when I do the school run and there is all that tailpipe fumes outside the front of the school, and you're thinking,
Mm.
"Well, it's not fantastic."
It's not good for your kids.
Uh,
Good for you, is it? Yeah.
yeah, so but this kind of transition to electric is it's not overnight. It's work in progress, and it will come.
Mm. So let's talk about kind of you and sort of like what I know I kind of said some of the lessons learned, but what about being a leader? How is that? Because you're now looking at extended teams, aren't you? How's that kind of you could I'll just go back a second because being an entrepreneur is one thing and being an inventor is something else, but being a leader and in charge of teams is, and I know you've got other people who are helping running the teams as well, but how's that been as a bit of a journey over like this past 5 6 years? Was it
I
like water
think
off a duck's back?
it's
You're all right with
no, definitely not. It's like all the other elements of business. It is a learned skill.
Mm.
No
Mm.
one's a natural born leader, or no one's a natural born accountant. It's like, come on. Uh, so that's definitely one of the skills that I'm working on and working towards being better in that field.
Mm.
I'm pretty good at the creative side and some of the other entrepreneurial bits that you need to be strong in. Uh, and there's room for the improvement in other areas. So yeah, no one's perfect, right?
No, and you know what? It's funny because it takes time, doesn't it? Um, as an entrepreneur or business owner, to actually recognize that you can't be everything. You can beat yourself up about not being that accountant. As in, I can do the creative stuff, I can do the business development, the marketing, and whatever. But I can't. The accountancy's like, oh my god, it's not my zone of genius, as I call it. Um, but actually recognizing that you don't have to do all these things. You can get other people to come and help you, and I think it's that sometimes when you recognize, well, actually I do need this. I need a team around me just to support me, and working off one another as well in a really positive way, because you've got people to talk to about stuff and they get you, and then you start feeding ideas, don't you?
Yeah, and there's also having the capacity to lead. They're
Mm,
still very hands-on within the business, and we're making some kind of strategic moves to kind of move me out of day to day so that
mm,
I can help that wider picture that, those licensees, those other stakeholders that are involved with EV blocks. I want to be able to have the time and the capacity to work with those guys. So we're changing things here in the UK so that we can flex a little bit
mm.
more outside of the UK then. So and again, nothing happens overnight with these things either. As much as I'd like them to.
But you like I say, yeah, the one thing you are is agile when you're a smaller business, aren't you? You can be like with the blocks, the stuff that you've been doing, you've been quite agile, but there are certain things that do take that little bit longer. Um, and sometimes it's kind of hard to let go, but it's kind of it's worth it, isn't it? Just even if it does take that little bit, when it gets there, it's kind of like, oh my god, thank God for that, But it's all part of the journey that you're on as a business, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's a great, touch wood to date, great journey. Some tough lessons in there, but yeah, it's been really good.
So you've just said earlier, didn't you, that you're looking at expanding into another couple of countries. What are you looking for besides that? Where do you want to go after these next couple? Do you want to, is there have you got a grand plan?
We're always planning something.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of other products that we're looking at. Yes, we want to continue to grow the license network
Mm,
across the globe.
mm,
Um, and just yeah, it's part of the reason trying to free up my time for the stuff that's outside of the UK is to really, learn a little bit more about running a global business or having um, multiple shop fronts, if you like.
mm.
Um, and I think that's going to be where the focus is, if you like, to just build our little EV Blocks brand. Ultimately we're still, small business. Effectively, we've grown a good business from pretty much nothing, um, but we're not like a Goliath of the industry as of yet.
Not yet, but hey, you never know. But what do
Keep
you
going,
like?
yeah.
Well, exactly. What do you want to learn next then? What's next? As in, if you kind of had the opportunity to kind of go, right, I can do these things. What do you want to learn next, and who would you like to learn it from?
Oof.
I said I wasn't going to throw you a curveball in, but that's a
There it is,
nice
yeah,
curveball, isn't it? It's a nice
yeah.
curveball. What do where have you got, say, like, I don't know why Stephen Bartlett just popped into my head then. Is it kind of like a you kind of somebody that you hold in high esteem that you kind of go, do you know what? I'd really love to know what that person knows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I definitely like to get involved with other businesses, or in fact, we were discussing this around the dinner table last night of giving back and helping other um, business owners or budding entrepreneurs not make those same mistakes
Oh,
that
I
I've
love
made, or that uh, peers or mentors that I've had have showed me that, they made these mistakes when
mm,
they were up and
mm,
coming, and it saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of money, and it saves you a lot of heartache. No one goes into business because they
oh,
don't believe in it,
mm,
and no one goes into business to fail. But I can tell you, when you do fail or when it doesn't go right, it hurts. I mean, it's a right kicking.
yeah.
So if you can save someone from that, or not even save them, but steer someone away from making the same mistake you did, that's that's good news in my book.
So you're going to be adding mentoring to your CV next, then, are you? Because that sounds that I can imagine that that'd be a really good thing for you, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm open to it, that's for sure.
Mm,
Because it's a decent thing to do.
mm. Oh, I like that. I like that. So just as a final thing then, and I think, do you know what? I could have just ended on that because that's just a lovely point, really. If there's somebody now who's just starting out in business and they just want some guidance, what would be, and it doesn't matter whether it's to do with what you're doing or not, just a business, somebody setting up in business, what would your advice be to them? What would be the most important thing that you'd want them to know?
All the information you need is out there, and the biggest place I've found them is in the books. No one reads anymore, but
Mm,
a lot of the business and psychology books are still as relevant today as what they were when they were first published. And it's incredible. Some of the books that I've read or list, I can read, but I can't read and it go in.
I
So
know.
I'll listen to it on an audio book
Yeah,
and it goes
I'm the
in. So
same.
I'm like,
Yeah,
perfect. So having books on audio has really helped me, whether that's a 3 hour drive in the car or doing something in the garden, having an audio book in, and learning those new skills um, through those books has been fantastic. And I'd highly recommend that to anyone starting out.
that's a really really good point. Really is because not I said to you, and other people know, watch and listen. I'm neurodivergent. My brain doesn't always work in the same way as my as somebody else, and everybody learns in different ways anyway. And I am totally like you in the fact that I listen to audiobooks now because I get a lot from them, and sometimes, especially when they're written by the author of the book, you can get that intonation from their voice of their passion, and it just makes a difference. Oh, I feel a bit emotional just saying that now. But seriously, it is really about, kind of just listening to what they're saying and how they're saying it, because they're wording it and their intonation is exactly what they're trying to say. So I'm really not saying that reading books, as in physical books, is a bad thing. But for me, yeah, do you know what? I've really, really appreciated your honesty, Trevor. It's so refreshing. It really, really is. And just to, and that point about giving back, that is just, yeah. There's a lot of people who don't always see that, but I really, really, I just, you should be really proud of yourself just saying that. And I'm not just trying to be you know, a weirdo or anything like that. I am serious. I am serious. I think that's just recognizing that that's kind of one of the next steps, and being able to support other people. I totally get you. I really do. But look, on that note, I'm going to say thank you. It's been really, really good. It's been absolutely lovely talking to you and just getting to know you a little bit. Because we kind of, like I say, we were introduced through Angela. You probably didn't know who the heck I was beforehand, and we did have a chat, didn't we, originally? But it's been lovely to hear you and talk about the journey, and just good luck, onwards and upwards, I say.
Thank you very much, Liz. I appreciate that.
So just everybody, I will be sharing. Please check out the links for evblocks.com in the show notes. I've just told you the link anyway. I will provide all of your other links, anything else. But yeah, congratulations on the Global Entrepreneur of the Year award. That is just fantastic. And yeah, just keep saving money. And if you want somebody process mapping, then give me a shout.
Brilliant.
So to everybody, I'm just going to say, look, I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I did. Please just check out his links. Check out our podcast page on LinkedIn. So Electric Evolution Podcast on LinkedIn. And thanks, Trevor. And thank you to everybody for joining me. I'll see you later. Bye.